If you are looking just only one lens for your Micro Four Third camera system, then you don't need to look any further the lens that I'm gonna tell you about. But before that, let's roll the intro. Today I'm gonna shed a light on Olympus 12-40mm f2.8 Pro zoom lens. I'm glad I'm sharing this review with you since it was my first Micro Four Third lens. 12-40mm is 24-80 on full frame and is very popular in both photography and videography. I take this lens with me all the time, and 90% of the time this lens stays on my BMPCC 4K whenever I shoot something. So I finally decided why not to review about this great and beautiful lens. Also stay tuned for more updates, and if you subscribe to my channel, that'd be a great help. So without further ado, let's talk about this beautiful lens. Let's see some of the specification of this lens. The Olympus 12-40mm weighs around 385 grams. The lens has a 14 element in 9 group and there are 7 aperture blades in it. Maximum aperture on this lens is f2.8 and it closed down to f22. Because this lens is a dust-proof, waterproof and freeze-proof, so you don't need to worry about any rough weather conditions. This lens is not macro lens, but you can get very close to the subject. A minimum close focusing distance of this lens around 20 cm, which make the place for the Olympus 12-40mm f2.8 in the macro category. For a screw-on filter, the Olympus has a 62mm filter thread size. Because this lens is designed for professional use, so the Olympus 12-40mm built that way. It's all metal constructions, splash-proof, dust-proof and freeze-proof as we talked about earlier. It fits on the palm of my hand and it feels very solid. It balances nicely with my BMPCC original cameras and BMPCC 4K. The front mount is a weather sealed and the rear mount with the gasket provides a snug and tight fits on the camera. Both zoom and focusing rings are very smooth. The lens extends around 30mm when you zoom from 12 to 40mm. There's also a special clutch mechanism button to switch from autofocus to manual focus, which shows the hard stops and which is very good for video work. Overall, the 12-40mm f2.8 Pro is a very sharp lens. The corners are a little soft at f2.8 at each focal length, but if you stop down around f4, then it becomes a very sharp edge to edge. This lens suffers from distortion. Without a correction, the lens has a distortion at 12mm, but it can be corrected in the post. Autofocus background still very smooth and creamy, and when done right, it's very pleasing to the eyes. Let's talk about some pros and cons of this lens. The 12-40mm f2.8 Pro is fast lens and comes with constant f2.8 aperture throughout the entire zoom range. It has an excellent build quality, clutch mechanism for manual focusing, render beautiful colors and sharp images. Let's talk about the cons of this lens. First of all, this lens is not cheap. On eBay Australia, it's gonna cost you over 1,000 Australian dollars. The second is no image stabilization. If you do most of your video work handheld, maybe you need to consider some sort of gimbal or Steadicam. Another downside of this lens is barrel distortion. At 12mm, the lens suffers from barrel distortion, which can be corrected in the post. It's not a big deal for me. Do I recommend this lens? Yes, I highly recommend this lens. There's a reason behind it. First of all, you don't need to swap lens as this lens covers almost everything from wide angle to short telephoto, which we need for video work most of the time. The Olympus 12-40mm lens stays on my BMPCC 4K 90% of the time. It has a manual clutch mechanism, which also great for pulling the focus precisely. It also has a f2.8 aperture, which is more than enough for low light. Last but not the least, it creates a beautiful images. That's all what we want at the end. And I'm sure this lens won't let you down, as it never let me down so far. And I have this lens about 2 years. If you enjoyed and found this video very useful, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe and support to my channel for more videos. Thank you very much.